We're back with the Burning Couch podcast. Our friend Mike Asti is joining us because we want to kind of take assessment of the season so far. So Mike, here's my take.
Okay.
The Houston game, although we lost in horribly West Virginia fashion, probably the most. There's two. It brings me back to I think it was '95, the blocked punt by Miami. When we shouldn't have even punted, and we did, and they blocked it and ran it back, touchdown, won the game.
Was it 96? Yeah, I think that was 96.
96. So this is probably the worst I felt about a game since then. But at the same time, I'm like, well, the team played, hey, man, they came back. They almost won. So I didn't feel quite as bad. This Oklahoma State game was just trash.
Yeah,
They totally gave this game away.
They did.
What is your vibe feel about this team? And is this a team that can actually turn things around?
I will tell you that Neil Brown agrees with your assessment and your take there. I mean, he literally said the Oklahoma loss stings more. So, and it almost felt like he was saying it stings more than any other loss he's really ever had, because he says a lot of the things that happened in that Oklahoma State game he's never experienced in his entire career. He's never experienced allowing a running back to go for almost 150 in a fourth quarter. We're not talking second half. We're not talking full game. We're talking fourth quarter. He put up Steve Slaton numbers. He put up over 280 and 4 touchdowns in the game and 149 in the fourth quarter. By himself, he basically won that game. So Neil Brown said the Oklahoma State loss stings more. And I think it stings more because, number one, he felt like they had that game in hand, that even though they had the slow start and made mistakes and gave them 17 points and all that BS that annoyed fans, they were leading going into the fourth quarter. Like, they were kind of fixing it. And then they were going to maybe have the special year, and then they still collapse and the defense plays horrible in the last couple touchdowns. I honestly think, Matty, forget Steve, I think you and I could have ran those in the end zone. It was gaping holes. And that maybe feels a bit worse than a week earlier. You feel like you should beat Houston, who's since lost. Like, they're still a struggling team with a worse record. But you were banged up. You didn't have Aubrey Burks in that game for your secondary. You knew Dana was going to throw the ball a lot. You did have him against Oklahoma State. And you lose on a last-second play on the Hail Mary that Neil talked about. It shouldn't even have been a play they should have got off. If you don't have the taking the helmet penalty, they're 15 yards further back, and then there's no way they're going to throw that ball for a Hail Mary. So those things sucked. And you didn't play well, and you can blame it on the defense. But OSU stings even more, and I think it's because Neil and the coaching staff felt like they kind of got everything under wraps. The players said they were mentally still in the bye week, all of that in Houston. They felt like they got it all under wraps. They got it all fixed. They had a great week of practice. They're ready to go. They're at home. They didn't have to travel. And then you get that result against Oklahoma State, despite, again, leading late, despite all the issues earlier, and you're still right in that game and having the advantage, and then you basically just get destroyed in that fourth quarter. So the vibes are kind of that. But I do think this team, unlike last year, where it felt like they kind of were just going through the motions for a while, certainly midway through the season until the end, I think this team still feels like, because everybody is still kind of in the thick of things in the Big 12, everyone except Oklahoma has lost the game, they still feel like they have their goals in front of them, and they at minimum can at least get in a bowl game because they have 4 wins. But you don't want to just punt games, and they should have won both of them, but they certainly should have beat Oklahoma State, even though they've been winning recently, because, again, anything but 150 from one man in the fourth quarter would have led to a Mountaineer victory.
And Mike, I agree with you wholeheartedly that these past 2 games were our games to win. Yeah. And the change of the scenery of football for West Virginia is that we were winning. And now it's like we lost these games. It's heartbreaking to have these, because even listen, we could talk a lot.
People were getting excited. The vibes were better. People were thinking, okay, Neil's saying we're proving people wrong. We're going to have a special year. You guys who predicted 9 wins on my site, and we had that preview show. And I thought you both were crazy. I went 6-6, and you guys were looking to be right. And then you get these last 2 games, and, like, who knows?
Those are winnable. Those are games that were ours to win. And the fact that like I said, I speak from a stance of playing football. But understanding the game, Dana Holgerson, who's ex-coach, you got to beat him. It's a tough loss how we lost. It's a tough loss to lose on a Hail Mary. and that's
Yeah.
really honestly any game. It's you're tossing a coin flip.
Here's the thing: as a lifelong West Virginia fan, when I saw 12 seconds on the clock, and I saw Garrett Green running around getting excited, I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, kid. Like,
Right.
literally, shut up. This is
Yeah.
WVU football. We find a way to lose, and you are jinxing us." And I mean, I sat there and I was like, "They're gonna pull this off somehow."
I threw a tweet up. I probably jinxed it too.
And I hate that I felt, and I hate that, like, that's my mindset as a WVU fan.
Yeah.
It's always,
Yeah.
we'll find a way to mess this one up. You know, and then running into your own receiver on a
Yeah.
punt. I mean,
Yeah.
Steve, have you ever seen anything like that in your career?
Honestly, I've never seen anything like that, but I don't, like I said, I believe in Neil Brown. I've believed in him for a long time. I don't think he coaches that. And things that happen in the game, you make mental mistakes, because I've made mental mistakes, but yeah, listen, like, I'm having a hard time believing, because is that I understand that he's not coaching that, but what you see in the last minutes, this is what's losing games.
Well, and Neil Brown said it too, that his name is on the program. So he's literally said this in the last 2 weeks during this losing skid here, that no matter what goes on, whether it's his fault or not, and of course, he doesn't coach to have players run into each other. Of course, he's not coaching that. But when you end up on a viral moment, nonetheless, you know, it goes on you and your name's in the program. And what he has done, you guys talking about coaching a lot, and he was off the hot seat. I always thought if he got in a bowl game, he'd be back. Ren and them, they won him back. But if a losing season occurs, or you barely crawl into a bowl game maybe now after 4-1, maybe he wouldn't be back. But, you know, the other issue is he said after the Houston game that in retrospect, maybe he regrets on how he handled the bye week, or he regrets on how he's handled the team in terms of their success. So they were 4-1. The only loss was Penn State, that's vying for the playoff. They're riding high. They win the brawl. And he said he treated him a little bit like a pro team, because there was gritty wins. There were physical wins. So after Saturday brawl, veterans off on Monday, veterans off on Wednesday, etc. And he said he regrets that now, because he said, looking back at this team, I don't care how old you are or how long you've been around, they don't do well with lack of stability, with lack of structure. And these are still college kids. The most veteran, we're still talking early 20s. So they don't do well with lack of structure. And then I will say, for maybe some insight here and some reporting, I don't know exactly what went down. I've heard some rumors. I don't feel comfortable expanding on that here. But Lance Dixon got... I don't have enough to say it. I'm not like somebody else who just pop off.
Hey,
but
go ahead.
Lance Dixon got suspended for the Oklahoma State game. There were rumors before that he was maybe even off the team, that he was going to be suspended. Neil Brown confirmed, and I tried to ask before, nobody would confirm, but Neil Brown confirmed he got suspended for the Oklahoma State game. It's to be determined whether he's ever back on the team. That's not great when meaning you say that you're worried about lack of structure, you change, you did it wrong prior to Houston with lack of structure, and then a day later, somebody's getting suspended. So did you change after that, or what happened there? That has to go on the head coach when you have players getting suspended despite winning, and you're admitting that lack of structure that you put down has led to them now playing poorly for these 2 games. So that does go on Brown.
So, Mike, here's my thoughts, concerns. When this season started and was going, to me, it was what I've been saying for 3 years. This dude is recruited awesome. When people went down, those recruits came in and did well. I'm like, this is why most of us that love Neil Brown like Neil Brown. Let's say things don't go right this season. Neil gets fired.
Right.
Are we starting all over again? How many of these players do you think are going to stick with the program? That's my worry. And more than anything else, it's that, you know, I'm kind of falling out of love with him as a coach, to be honest with you.
Here's the other end of it. Say they bring in a new coach. If he stayed as
a recruiter, great.
Yeah.
I
Right,
mean, honestly, like,
if he
would just be the recruiter, he would be the best recruiter in the world. But but it comes down to coaching, and I don't know if he's got the chops.
Yeah, and of course he wanted Troy, but this is Power 5 football. It's a wholly different ball game. But yeah, I mean, I have said this, that to have top 40 recruiting classes at West Virginia, that does not really give you much high school football wise. You got to go outside, all of this, everything going on at the program in the school. to get. Some actually have argued top 35. He was in the top 30 and top 25 for a while, even though he slid out of that in these last 4+ years. So to be relatively in that top 30, top 35, or top 40 at WVU is a good recruiting job. And you're doing it while losing for the most part, besides the COVID year when you won a bowl. So that is fantastic. And he beat out Penn State for Rodney Gallagher, held Gallagher when he was firm with Penn State. And I know for a fact James Franklin wanted him, still wants him, may still get him, as what you're alluding to. But Neil Brown won, and Rodney Gallagher's told me to my face, I would run for a wall for that man. So I will tell you, without hearing from Gallagher on this, because he told me this a year ago, I don't know what his feelings are currently, but if you do get rid of Brown, I would imagine Gallagher is going to leave. I'd imagine a lot of players will leave. But the end of it, Matty, is you bring in a new voice. And again, it's year 5. It's not year 1 or 2, like Steve brought up with Rich Rod struggling his first couple years before Steve got there. He wasn't going to get fired because it's year 1 or 2. If it was year 5 and Rich Rod was winning 3 games and going 3-8, that might have been a different ball game. So this is year 5 now. You have a standard of Rich Rod, Dana, even Bill Stewart, and you bring in a new voice. Though that new, it's not even so much that these players may want to leave. The other end of it is, which people don't talk about as much in the transfer portal era, the new coach. Say it's a new coach that comes in, whoever it is, he may come in and say, I'm sorry. I know that you were here and you love it here and you don't want to leave. You don't fit my plan, my program. So I'm asking you politely, go hit that portal. Like, that's also
be on and not ask politely and just say, you're all hitting the portal and I'm bringing in right.
Or I'm bringing in the Louis and you're going to the portal and here's a YouTube video to embarrass you and your family. And, again, so Neil Brown has actually told me when I had him on a show that one of his biggest regrets is he wishes that he could have had the Dion rules in 2019 when he took over. He claims he would have cleaned house. So he would have got rid of all the Dana. He didn't say this, but it sounded like he was basically, because he told me he would have done that to improve the culture. We've been around long enough. That tells me that he had some bad remnants of culture in that locker room that were upset about Dana, the veterans, the alums that said they didn't feel welcome. That was still around. He wanted to clean that up. He couldn't because of the rules. It was different even a year in front of the portal. But nobody can do the Dion thing where you bring in 86 new players. And no one has a swag of Dion. But yeah, it would change a lot. It'd be maybe easier now because of the portal. You can bring in guys too, but it would be hard. Steve, you'd be rebuilding. Yeah.
It's very tough because what I know about Dion, when I look at Dion, you got to buy in because he's a player, he's a coach, he's done everything. He's done fantastic things to where you can't say, oh, you didn't do it. I think for Neil, even for the structure of West Virginia football is still West Virginia football. And I think Neil fit it. I think the next person has to fit it. Still same thing. I don't see it changing of, oh, you fired Neil. Okay, we fired Neil. Who fits the same fit of what West Virginia football is? Because literally to me, West Virginia football is Don Nealon. That's it to me. It's family over anything else. Even Rich had
he loves Neil. Even by the way.
Yeah, he was Neil. Listen, I haven't talked to that man in a long time, but I know he regrets that decision of leaving West Virginia because that's what we know, Matty, Mike, that's the greenest pasture you can have. There was nothing else. Him going to Michigan was not a better situation for him in Michigan.
Yeah,
he should have just stayed. I think he should have stayed. But we fired Neil. Who do you think is going to have the same retribution or even standard of what West Virginia is? Do any of your fans want to change it? I don't want to change what we love.
I think that no matter what happens this season, it has been we'll see how it turns out. And I want to kind of get into UCF in a second because I've some thoughts on that. But
I'm going down there for it actually.
The game is the program has been elevated as far as the players and we've had some flash a little we needed it this year and the season's not over, and this is what I keep telling folks, like, listen, this is not over yet.
It's not over.
This is the type, to me, this is the team that goes down to UCF and wins. This is honestly, like, if you ask me right now, I would guarantee a win at UCF. And why? Because that's what we do. We get beat up and then we come back and do some stupid, crazy stuff and win a game we're not supposed to. If we pull that off, and I honestly think we can, then, it's not, I wouldn't say it's green light again, but it's definitely looking, better again. And we've got some traction down the road. I think that, I still think it's a great team. I still love Garrett Green. Just shut up a little bit and you'll be all right. But hey, I'd rather have a kid cocky and confident and running around than I felt like, we've had pretty much hangdog look the last few seasons. So it's a tough road. So Mike, you're going down to UCF. I mean, what are you thinking about that game?
So yeah, I'm covering the game. I'm gonna be there for it. I'll say right now, no, I do believe they are a team that gives a vibe like it shouldn't have taken 2 games, but maybe now they understand more that they need to kick in the pants after the same result against Oklahoma State that happened in Houston. I wouldn't be shocked if they go down there and win. UCF is not the team that claims a fake title from years ago. Like, this is a UCF team that's been up and down this year. They do put up points, by the way. So if this was the same West Virginia team that earlier in the year was struggling to score and had like an impotent offense that, despite winning, couldn't move the ball hardly when Green was out, I would be more concerned for WVU. But putting up they're 24 over TCU, 39, 34, they're scoring. It is the defense that is the issue. Let's call it.
And we knew that going into the season. We just had a very nice surprise that they weren't terrible. And I think everybody knew that.
You know what people will say is that they played, the opponents are part of that too. Texas Tech has been exposed. They aren't that good. Phil Jerkovich has since been benched and maybe was going to be a tight end. Now isn't going to play at all. Like, they did benefit from a lot of what's going on. Like, when I was covering the Pitt game, for example, I was going in not sure because that's just how West Virginia is. But a lot of my colleagues who cover Pitt were saying, no, I think West Virginia's going to win this game. Phil Jerkovich doesn't have it. He's going to throw picks. And if you guys can catch him, it's over. West Virginia will win. That's exactly what happened. Like, to give him credit, they knew exactly what was going to go down, and it did. So maybe the defense has got exposed. Maybe they were tired, to their credit. They also were banged up. But I don't think it's out of the question that they can win at UCF. Also, they can win a shootout. They almost won a shootout against Houston. They almost did if they didn't collapse in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma State. So if it's a shootout, they can score and they can throw the ball and they can do those things too. But I think they need to now. Like, this is a borderline must win. If you lose this, you're still mathematically in a bowl game situation, but crawling in 6-6 after you're 4-1 is not going to feel the same than getting there another way. And you're pretty much out of the conference race if you lose if you're now 2-3 in conference play, and now you're behind all these teams that have beat you. So this is a must win. I think they can win, and maybe they're better off because you had the whole Dana BS, even though these players didn't play for him. You're back home, and you have half the stadium isn't full, 51K on homecoming. That's embarrassing. I'll say that. That's embarrassing. So maybe they're better off away from all of this. There's no hype at UCF outside of playing a football game. That might be best.
So listen, guys, we're going to have to wrap in a minute because Mike Asti, do you remember the show The State on MTV?
I do.
It's a very funny show. Oh, it's a great show. I'm going to go see it live.
No, I'm not as old as you. I do not recall.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I hear you.
Shit,
I hear you. I'm old.
I'm just kidding.
Shit, I know Mike's younger than me, but you show your age. Goddamn, Matty. Goddamn.
I just want to talk about, just very quickly, and just because I want to mention them. We have the number 1 men's soccer team in the country right
100%.
now.
Yeah, 100%.
And beat Marshall to get that title.
100%.
And I don't know. I don't think enough people were talking about him. Rifle's number 1 as well, but I did Rifle and listen.
Oh,
you did?
We're good at Rifle. Okay. We grew up with a rifle on our shoulder in West Virginia. Like, I've been shooting my whole life.
I will give Mike a well, not a pass, but understanding to where you said, "Oh, football, Marshall can't fuck with us." Anything else we can talk about?
Soccer, they can, yeah.
We could talk anything about Marshall, but we can't talk about football because y'all can't do nothing. You can't do nothing with us, and never did nothing with us.
And to beat them 5, I think it was 5-1 when they were undefeated and number 1. I mean, this is a great men's soccer team. Yeah. So I'm encouraging, if you've not paid attention to the men's soccer team, please. We have the best team in the country, and you're talking soccer. You got the Dukes, you got all these other, schools that are traditional soccer schools.
fake
the
football.
the sports program is doing great. In general, like baseball team's done well. They're doing well.
Yeah.
Hopefully, women's
Yeah.
basketball turned around this season. I think the
Right.
men's basketball team's going to have a great season, despite what's his name?
Yeah, battle.
Did he get his? He
Just go by battle.
He beat
he
his
didn't get the
case,
waiver right now. So.
He did not get the waiver, and
no, they're appealing and they're doing all these legal things. But I mean, you can't rely on that at this point when the season starts in a week. So. Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? I mean, the revenue sports right now are what's maybe down, but the basketball team went to the NCAA tournament last year and had a great recruiting class before all the drama happened. So there's reason for maybe some optimism there. But yeah I get what you're saying. The soccer team being number one is not a minor thing. That is insane. Number one in the country. Multiple polls. This is not just one random.
The women's team. The women's team's been great. The women's soccer 100%. Team's been great. Our baseball team. Well, the young kid, our old pitcher, he's doing really well in the league.
Right.
Listen, we got some good players playing in Major League.
We produce.
So
yeah.
From Jam Street Media.